What's up, everybody? How's it going? Thank you again for joining us for another We Are Still Back Wednesday BG-Cast Wednesday live podcast. Alrighty, guys, before we bring my guest on, the number one thing I want to say is thank you for all of the love last week during that show with Emily Moyer. I had a great time with Emily. That was really thought-provoking. It's not often I take things from people anymore, and it's not often somebody gets me to shift my perspective in an instant like that. It was just probably one of the most thought-provoking and interesting conversations I've had with a stranger, at least, in quite some time. So I want to thank everybody for the love that I got that night. I want to welcome all of the new followers and subscribers on Rumble and YouTube. And guys, I posted this on my X and my Facebook shortly before the show started. You know I don't ask you guys for anything. But if there's one thing you can do for me tonight is help me reach 1,000 likes on Rumble. That would be awesome. I'm only 2 away, so it's not that far of a stretch. So just 2 more likes, guys, and I'm at 1,000 likes. And this is a good way you could support BG-Cast. I do most of this stuff myself, man. This is all self-funded. All the research is done by me. All of the hunting guests is done by me. Urban did my intro, but all of the fillers and the outros are done by me. So I kind of do all this on my own, guys. So if you all could help me get to 1,000 likes, that would be awesome. Thanks so much. Nonetheless, I'm excited to bring this guest on. He is definitely a soul brother. He has even said that himself before. Him and I met about a couple years ago. We started chatting. You've seen him on this channel before, and the thing I really like most about his rhetoric, man, is he is very much on the same wavelength as me. We are trying to bridge this collective divide at this point in time. We are trying to get people to understand it is not me versus you. It is us versus them, the parasite class. This is the biggest weak point in this system that nobody realizes just yet. I'm hoping we can change that, though, because this is not going to be won. Like I've said numerous times, pitchforks and torches and wars are not going to win what's going on at this current time. Voting is not going to get us out of this current situation at this time. But what is going to get us out of this current situation is destroying the collective Hegelian dialectic, the me versus you. And it seems like a giant wall that I'm up against, but I'm ready for the task. I couldn't be more excited, and I know my guest couldn't be more excited also. So let's welcome him to the stage. We got Andrew Lordson of Heavyweight Life Feels, aka Big Daddy Drew. What is up, man? How's it going? Thanks for being here.
What is good? What is good? Can you hear me?
Absolutely. You're sounding pretty
Okay,
good.
perfect. Thank you, Stephen, for the opportunity to be on your show again. But I wanted to say thank you, not just for that, but thank you for being a leader in this effort,
Thanks.
in this movement. Also, thank you for being a brother to me and for believing in me. I've desperately been desiring fraternity in my life. I've been begging the universe for brothers in arms in this battle that we're in. And I finally feel like I've got it. And it's a really good feeling. I know you really are critical of the toxic displays of masculinity that are appearing in our culture. And so I just wanted to take a moment to try and model what I think is positive masculinity, just 2 men appreciating each other, building each other up, and working on a mission to better their community. So thank you very much.
Absolutely. And thank you, man. Thanks for those kind words. I really appreciate it, man. And same here, dude. If anybody understands what you just said, it's me, because like I remember for so long, when I woke up in 2008, man, it was like I felt like I was one of the only people. I felt so scarce. Like I knew there was more of us, but I knew we were really spread out. And as time went on, I saw more and more people kind of wake up, kind of understand what's going on here. But the ones who have their hearts, their minds, their souls 100% in it, or I'll even say 200% in it at this case, are very few and far between. But you, my friend, you are 200% in it. You have a freaking, like I said, you are a wealth of amazing ideas. You have such good ideas, dude. And that in and of itself is what's going to oh, we got Cody real quick. Hey, thanks, Cody. I appreciate you, man. Thanks for being here. And but no, man, you have amazing ideas. You have the passion within you, man. And it is, bro. It's a mutual respect, it's a mutual understanding. And we are brothers in arms, man. And speaking of that, I asked you, let's kind of dive into this because I asked you this question. We were talking about toxic masculinity. And I know a lot of people on the right think there is no such thing as toxic masculinity. And I know a lot of people on the left think that everything is toxic masculinity. So, but you and I both know that this isn't the case. And we're just being greeted with these extremes and illusions that are presented as reality. So, in your own words, my friend, let's break this down. What do you feel it means to be a true spiritual man in this world at this time?
Oof, that is a very complicated question in this time, but I think it's important to talk about. For me personally, I wanted to address kind of something in that during our last chat, I was very diminutive to myself. I was like, I'm a nobody. And I would say I was still just deeply in what many of you probably have been through, the dark night of the soul. And you have just been instrumental in helping me sort of through that. I still, at this point, don't even necessarily consider myself a spiritual man yet. I still think I'm on the path. Before I discovered spirituality, I actually would have considered myself an advocate for philosophy. And
Okay.
don't turn away, people, please. I'm not going to get into philosophy. I'm not going to bore you. Most people run when you use that word. But I found that as my philosophical journey progressed, I couldn't help but notice there was significant overlap in the spiritual community and the philosophical community. I've got kind of just a really funny example. Metaphysics. The word metaphysics is used both by academic scholars, but then also by the people who sell crystals and potions in the esoteric shops. And if they're really cool, they sell the good LSD, which was invented by an academic and is kind of like a potion. So there's so much overlap. And during one of your chats you did with Karen, she used the word that hasn't been used a whole lot lately, psychonaut. I would say I'm an aspiring psychonaut because the divine and numinous experiences that I've had that told me, hey, philosophy's great, continue that path, but there's more. And it's like, oh man, because I'm already like, philosophy in itself is overwhelming. But then to say it's almost like the difference between 3D and 5D. Philosophy is 3D, spirituality is 5D. And I'm actually gonna bring up some points later that I think are connected, but to kind of bring everything full circle, to be a spiritual man, it's to be a man who cares about his community. It's to be a man who cares about himself, because you can't care about your community if you don't care about yourself. So you have to start with yourself. It means pursuing your personal path to self-actualization. But that's, again, more of the 3D sort of thing. But the path to the 5D is through the 3D. Being the best version of yourself. I do think that there is a difference between men and women, and I know that's just so crazy to say in this day and age. But I do think it is important for men to sort of be the protectors of society. And it doesn't always just mean physical. It could mean spiritual or emotional. But I think the women that in my life that I have the best relationships with are the women that have told me that like they can just be themselves around me. They feel safe around me. And that is a man's duty, is to provide safety, to allow the feminine to flourish. And I'll end it there.
I think that's an awesome explanation, man. And I completely agree with you. You know, when we hear uh let's start with this, the taking care of ourselves, right? Real quick, we have Mr. Freeman. I'm not going to run at the mention of philosophy, which he never does. And we have 3D to 5D is developmental psychology, which I do agree with. That's definitely an interesting topic, and we might dive into that. But let's talk about taking care of yourself first. You know, absolutely, and that's a given. You know, and one of the things I think that we look this society still in a lot of ways looks at self-care as being selfish, you know. And one of the biggest things we see, I mean, we see how this kind of society is set up to run. I call it like you never get a chance to breathe, you know. You're immediately thrown into, you know, the school indoctrination system. And you know, then you're basically then thrown into the real world when you're not 100% an adult yet. You know, when I was 18, I was, yes, maybe physically, legally, I was an adult, but mentally, I was not. You know, absolutely not. And then you're rushed into working, and then you're rushed into getting married, and then you're rushed into having kids, and it's like, what's next? What's next? What's next? What's next? And it's like, dude, can I like take a second to just like chill and appreciate where I am and like take it all in and just look at the beauty of the now and this experience that I'm having. But I'll digress. What I'm getting to with that is this is you're so always focused on everything else around you that you never take time to do self-care. And a lot of people in this society still hold that mentality that almost in a way that is selfish, but that is the farthest thing from the truth in my eyes, because you know, when you take care of yourself, you're better able to take care of those around you, just as you stated. You know, you can't take care of the community, and you can't love your community if you don't take care of yourself and you don't love yourself. So no, I 100% do. We are 200% in on that. The second thing you brought up too, which I think is really great, is that self-actualization. It can, you know, it can be a 3D thing. You know, it can. I think at least from what I see sometimes, that self actualization will break you into the higher densities once you start going down that path. So I'm with you. It can be a 3D thing. I think it also can be, you know, it can start in 3D and then it can kind of start going up as you continue along that evolution. And the number one thing I said that you really liked is we are the protectors of this community, our communities, this world, our families. Um, I don't know why that's seen as such a bad light in a lot of people. And like you said, it's not just about physicality; it's about emotional. It's about, you know, spiritual. It's about many. It's a multifaceted thing to be a man and to be a protector. And I feel like it gets marginalized a lot into these black and white categories. But I think you brought that up very good, man. No, I want to say that is an excellent answer.
Oh, well, thank you. I have a lot of notes. I was so excited for this. I came prepared because this is such an important mission to bring up, actually, kind of the mission. And you said it sucks that men's efforts and expectations are marginalized and even sort of attacked and criticized. The social engineers. The social engineers are so good at dividing us over these stupid culture war issues. And for me, that's at the crux. That is at the crux. They use these stupid culture war issues to distract the people from actually uniting against the parasite class.
100%, man. 100%. Well, I was actually talking with somebody about this today because it was actually the individual where you responded to the article they posted in response to my mom, the Wired article. I was talking with them. I trust me, I'm with you. I get it. But you know, like I was kind of like talking to them about it. I was like, look, you know, like it's I was breaking down basically what you just said. I was like, I get, we're all distracted by these surface level issues at this point. And, and where I have to be a median too, and I'm sure you'll agree with me in this as well, because, we're trying to coalesce this coalition. We're trying to bridge this gap and, come together. I had to phrase it this way. I was like, I'm not saying the surface issues don't matter and they don't have emotion tied to them. I'm not saying that, but this is what they want us to do. They want us fighting amongst ourselves while they continue to use the fear and the anger that is manifesting out of this fight that's currently going on right now to manifest their desired outcome in their reality. And that's the biggest thing that's going on. And it's almost like a give and take. Like after, I'm not saying this happened due to Common Ground, but I found it really fucking strange that this happened 2 days after Common Ground. So I did Common Ground. 2 days later, Trump put the ban on observances for all of the, the woke holidays and stuff. And it was originally at military bases. That's the one thing that the actual article said. So they got rid of observation for Black History Month. They got rid of observations for Women History Month. They got rid of observations for Gay Pride Month, things like that. And they, but it was on military bases. But the way the media worded it was it's everywhere. It's not just on military bases. So, of course, SMP, I just was like, man, dude, it's like, we sit here and I'm not saying they couldn't potentially be aware of people like you and I trying to do this kind of thing. I mean, don't get me wrong. But I was just like, man, dude, it's like I did something great. I finally got somebody from the right and the left in the same room, to sit and have a civil discussion. Then 2 days later, this happens. So it is, man. It's an interesting thing we're doing right now. But as both you and I know, this is the way.
They know that they're losing. They know that they're losing, but they're not going down without a fight. Which is why it is so crucial that we invest our resources in the title of your video, Coalescing the Coalition. I'm sorry for bringing it up. I know it's your show, but it just fit so perfectly in the moment. Because that's kind of what we need to be doing right now is, breaking the social engineers programming or not letting it affect us, getting outside of the matrix and reconnecting with groups of people in different communities, because there is a war going on. And I know I sound hyperbolic or like, crazy, but there's a physical war, there's a spiritual war, psychological warfare. And so while I say that, I'm not trying to, project fear porn out there because we're going to win. I believe, I'm a huge proponent of, the balance concept, and we've been on the losing end for a while and the tides are turning, but we have to do work. We have to do work to bring it about. That's key. I'm sorry, I'll stop rambling. Do you want to kind of talk about
you were
project?
Good. No, you're absolutely right, man. There's so one thing. I mean, of course, you realize this, and this is actually what I'll be talking about at Liberty on the Rocks too. As well as a couple of other things. We have to understand that our what we're dealing with right now at the highest level is mental, psychological, spiritual as well. Don't get me wrong. Of course, there is that aspect, 100%. But we're dealing with if we're talking in terms of a battlefield, we're dealing with a mental and psychological and emotional battlefield at this point in time. And this is what's kind of taking precedence at this point. And we still have a lot of people who have their mentality set on this is a physical battlefield. And don't get me wrong. Okay, like, yes, there are going to be instances of a physical battle. I mean, those are things that that's human nature. That's kind of what comes out of these times that we're currently in. I mean, we kind of even see the physical battle manifesting through the protests, some of the civil unrest and things that are coming. But what we're honestly dealing with, and this would be the biggest turnaround, and I'm talking to you as like what we're doing, trying to work together on this, if there is a way that we can inherently solidify with, starting with our conscious collective, don't get me wrong. If we can inherently solidify that we are on a mental, psychological, and emotional battlefield at this point in time, you have to turn your head just a little bit away from that physical aspect. And at least in my eyes, if we do that, that is going to open the door. That's going to open the perspective of people, because if they can shift their mentality into understanding that they're undergoing a mental and psychological manipulation, an emotional manipulation, then they're going to stop looking at the physical aspect of it, and then they're going to start digging into the psychological aspect of what's going on. What do you think?
We agree so much sometimes. It's like I could just say I agree completely, but I'll try to speak a little bit more about it.
Hold on real quick. Freeman said everything seems 1 versus 0, and yeah, it definitely can.
Yeah, and it's interesting. 1 versus 0. I've got the division symbol, so you can't divide by 0, or just everything ends up by 0, right? And so it's kind of connected. This is my shirt. No division. I think
yes,
that needs to be sort of a central theme that we focus on. No division. I do want to bring up one caveat. There's one inherent division that exists that we did not create and we do not want to participate in, and that is the division between us and the parasite class. It is just key that every time sort of conflict and tension arises, we need to ask ourselves, is this serving us in our community, or is this serving the parasite class? And I love, I started saying the parasite class because I heard it on your show, but then a few weeks later, I was reading Murray Rothbard's Anatomy of the State, and he uses that term. And so he's an anarchist philosopher. It's very interesting. I won't go into it. I'm not going to bore you all, but that's to me. And that was a synchronicity. And I'm like, that needs to be part of like the vernacular. It's
Agreed.
The one dividing line is one we did not create, one we do not want to participate in. And it's just, there are these important, like you said, culture war issues that do have emotions tied to them, but we gotta just kind of put them aside. And I'm full blown anarchist, stateless society person, and I know most people disagree with that, but I'm willing to compromise, and I'm willing to work with people I disagree with for a bigger picture, regardless of where we get to in 100 years. I'm of the belief that the stateless society is a 1,000-year project, so my lifetime's not going to see it, and I would be dumb if I were to be just so set on no solution other than that solution. There are steps we're going to need to make. And I acknowledge that. And I'm willing to compromise. And I think more people need to compromise. I want to say one more thing real quick, and then I'll turn it over to you.
Yeah, go ahead, man.
And this, you're excluded from this, but everyone else, this applies to. Most of us, and I include myself, need to be doing more. I think a lot of us got so just weighed down by the last few years that we got out of a lot of routines, even if it's basic things like self-care. I need to lose weight and I need to do more yoga. I acknowledge that, and I'm working on it, because the better I take care of myself, the better I can go out into my community. But that's not where it stops. We need more people to get involved. We need more people to get activated, engaged. I'm not a fan of the progressives. Actually, I despise them tremendously, but I will acknowledge they're great at mobilizing, and they're great at sort of building these little movements. I do acknowledge they're getting funding from the social engineers, because a lot of these progressive movements are just false flags, essentially, or they're inside sort of jobs meant to destabilize. But you need to be volunteering, or you need to be campaigning. I'm going to potentially talk to Alan. I don't know what to call him. Is it Alan?
I've learned to just refer to him as Freeman over the years, but
okay.
However you want, man. Yeah, no, I've known him for quite some time, and I've just gotten used to calling him Freeman.
Okay, Freeman. I'm going to potentially be chatting with him tomorrow. He's, a big part of this new political movement, the American Capitalist Party, which sounds right up my alley. And
Absolutely.
so this is coalition building. We're doing it. But what are you doing there in the audience? And I'm pointing at myself. Steven's excluded because if you know Steven, he's up at like 3 o'clock in the morning and he's like going, 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 going. I know I don't even know all of what he does behind the scenes, but I know how much he does for me and sort of my community building. And
Thanks,
I
man.
know he's helping other people. But the rest of you, that's all. Work harder.
Well, it's funny because I always feel like I want to do more and I could do more too. That's something I kind of battle with myself. Like, I know I'm doing a lot, and I know I'm doing most more than a lot of people. But I even myself, dude, I have those moments where it's like, so a good example of this, and then I'm going to kind of go back into what you just spoke about. So they had the whole thing for the Colorado gun bill going on at the state capitol. And for those of you who don't know what's going on, they are trying to ban weapons that have detachable magazines here in the state of Colorado. It's definitely unconstitutional. It's already gotten passed by the Senate. We're kind of on our last limb with it. I'll be getting a PO box in Wyoming if worse comes to worse. But I wanted to be there. I wanted to be there to speak. A few people I know, Corey from Break the Chains Media, Forest Mommy. I didn't find out about it till like the very last minute, and I was at work, and I think it bugged me because I was like, dude, if I had known, I would have just taken off and I would have been there. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and that's where it like gets to me, where it's like I feel like I could do more. I want to do more, but then I have to tell myself sometimes too that you're doing everything you can with the means you have, bro. Like you truly are. Like, you started this show. You live, you eat, you breathe, you sleep, everything you talk about. Because somebody has to set an example, man. We have too many people out there that are just talking. You know what I mean? Like, we have too many people who are just sitting there talking, who are just talking about the problems. They're talking about these esoteric concepts. They're just talking about it. And they're not putting anything into action, man. I can't tell you how many conspiracy podcasters I hear talk about Kundalini awakenings. I'm like, have any of you ever decided to pick up Kundalini yoga and give it a fucking shot? No. I was like, no, but we're gonna talk about it like about it, right? Like, so I'm 100% with you, man. The one thing I want to bring up, some of the things that you talked about, yes, there is going to be that natural division between us and the parasite class. I did not know he used that term. I actually coined that term. Me and Chris kind of coined it together when we originally started talking about it, because we got tired of calling them the elites, because they're not fucking elite at all. Like, you know what I mean? They're not. So it's like, so like, what do we call it? Like parasite class. They're like parasites. They suck our energy away. And I'm like, I like that. That's cool. And to me, that's really interesting how it's in the collective human consciousness, man. We got a lot of different people who are kind of like pulling it, and using the terminology. But exactly, man, that natural division is going to exist in that aspect. But of course, when it comes to us, our collective, well, I'm going to show this comment. I'm sorry that you feel that way, man. It seems like all that's happening with this channel is just talking. Well, man, this is what I'll tell you, Even Gray. Go give a listen to a lot of the things that I've talked about. And if you'd like, I can send you a video of what I do in a day. How's that sound? But nonetheless, no, man, exactly. But this is what's happening too, is even in our conscious collective, what is happening is, I'm not saying we're not going to have disagreements. I'm not saying that there are going to be, there's not going to be discussions. We're not going to have differences in ideas, and this is even not just in our conscious collective. This is even in our general collective, I would say, right? And but here's the thing: is it's when the disagreements take precedence over the commonalities that we all share. That's what is happening at this point in time. And especially kind of like, like you were saying, or you don't want to, service or give any more energy to the parasite class. in our conscious collective, when we ostracize people due to a minor disagreement in ideology. I brought this up. I watched a podcast. I know fall apart at the seams. Like End of Days Radio. I was on their show back in the beginning of season 2. I used to be part of the roundtable. But I was talking to one of the members, and they all disbanded over just a stupid, minute differences in ideology, man. And that in and of itself, man, is servicing the parasite class, because the number one thing that they want from our conscious collective is they want us fighting amongst ourselves. Okay, they want us basically spinning our wheels, not doing anything. And they want us caught in, I'm going to go ahead and say it because Emily said they want us caught up in the conspiracies. Now, I get the conspiracies are, now that they brought the conspiracies to the mainstream and they have control over them. That's the difference in this now. But, I want to bring, because Emily Moyer, she made a valid point, the conspiracies are true, but that's not the point. And so this is what is happening is they're keeping everybody in these surface level conspiracies and arguing over these petty, minute differences in ideology, and they're winning over that. They're winning. They're getting the upper end. I mean, don't get me wrong, at least in that aspect. I know in the grand scheme of things, they are losing. They are on their way out. But every time we facilitate this collective Hegelian dialectic, we're allowing them to win. So I completely agree with you. And last thing I'll touch on, and then we'll head it back over to you. Yes, dude, you know me, I'm an anarchist at heart too. I would love it if we had 8 billion anarchists running around this planet, or however big the population is truly at this point in time. That's up for debate. But I understand that this collective is nowhere near morally, ethically, emotionally, or spiritually sound enough yet to handle this at this moment in time. I'm willing to compromise myself. And yes, the American Capitalist Party is a hell of a lot better than what we're doing right now. I actually call it a party of unification almost in a lot of ways, because it gives the right all of their big things that they want. You know what I mean? And it gives the left all of their big things that they kind of want. And this kind of brings, now I know the policies are being reworked on certain things according to Freeman. But, based on the last time I looked at the policies, it seems like a very happy medium, when it comes to a lot of what people in this collective want. And I'm going to turn it over to you and get your thoughts on that.
Yeah. So real quick, I just want to throw something out there. I didn't see that person's name, Even Gray or whatever.
Even Gray, he's been I'm kind of on the toss up of whether he has a sense of humor or he's just being a dick. But bring it on. Let's see what's going on.
If you're not at the very least also doing your own podcast, if you're not raising awareness, if you're not participating, then I would invite you to join us. I'm happy. Reach out to me. We can connect and we can find ways to move past talking, because yes, solutions are not really abundant currently, but that's kind of what we're trying to bring to the forefront, is the fact that we don't have any viable solutions. We don't have any, sort of organization or direction. So thank you for your comment, actually. We're going to move past the talking, and that's what this is about: building plans, bringing people together to do just that. On the note about like the conspiracies and getting focused or getting distracted by it, Urban Josh, if you're watching, I'm still waiting for the prototype of the shirt, because I've got the shirt. I've told you about the shirt. I'll just give the general idea. Not everything is a psyop, but most things are. And when you sort of embody that and you see something on the news, you're like, oh yeah, that's probably a psyop. Maybe not, but probably. And then you just try not to let it affect you. You just acknowledge that it's going on. And obviously it might affect you if it's like a freaking bomb going off or something. But in that case, you're in the next dimension or you're reincarnated. Not to be glib, but shoot, I wanted to say a few things. Your audience is likely ahead of the curve in terms of kind of being awake to what's going on.
Absolutely. Real quick, we have one person
Oh
who is
yeah.
very much like that who said something. Diana, Transcending Ascension. First the idea, then the action. Dig it. Totally.
Thank you, Diana. And Diana is on this wavelength where we're ahead of people. And I had a boss, and I didn't even like this boss, but this advice was perfect. They said, if you ever find yourself ahead of people, don't look back and yell at them to hurry up. Go back and help bring them along. While you're trying to bring your normie friends along, something to keep in mind is you can only meet people where they are at, and only invest in people that really are showing signs of being open. Don't waste your time. Don't waste your energy on closed minded people who are just not coming with us. That is a form of self care in itself. Protect your energy. But you in the audience have normie friends who are on the fence, who just need a little bit of help. Now is the time where we give them the help gently. Stephen, you've said it, we need about 8% of the collective awake and vibrating to really make this shift. And I just want to talk about what that means. I don't even think you have to be an enlightened master to be included in that 8%. I think if you're just someone who 15 minutes a day, 3, 4, 5 times a week, you have a gratitude practice and you have a presence practice and you're trying to cultivate the love frequency, I think you're in that 8%. I don't think the ask is too much, honestly. And that might be a barrier that a lot of people have had in the past, is thinking, oh, I have to be this super awakened, enlightened person to be part of the solution. You really don't. You just have to be on your journey. Like I said earlier, you have to be doing more. Most of we should be, most of you know what you need to be doing in your life. There we go. That's what it was. Let's see. I did have this expression, something to keep in mind also. I think it's a Mark
Absolutely.
Twain quote. It is easier to fool a man than convince him he has been fooled. So a lot of these people, that cognitive dissonance is strong. And it's a battle literally for their soul, essentially, as crazy as that sounds. And the people who are meant to come with us, they're going to be receptive and open, and we're going to bring them along, and it's going to be freaking beautiful.
I would agree with you 100%, man. You brought up something very excellent, and I'm happy you brought it up. And we'll kind of dive into it here. So you talked about, this 8% that I sent you that video. That was an Ashiana Dean video. And this is what has kind of aggravated me about the online spiritual community. And the way that they portray this, it's become so enveloped in ego at this point in time when it comes to when we talk about things. Like, I don't even like to use the term enlightened anymore. I don't even like to really use the term ascension anymore. The best thing I've been calling it is, you already are your higher self. You're just remembering your way back to it. You are already there. You already have everything within you, man. You are everything that was, is, and ever will be. And a lot of these people, when we talk about bringing in a new earth frequency, when we talk about cultivating this sense of community, when we talk about doing all of these things, becoming more conscious, becoming more aware, I feel like there's so many people out there who try to stonewall us, and it almost, in a lot of ways, I don't know if stonewall is the best word 100%, but in a lot of ways, they try to make it seem impossible, or unless you're doing this, you're not going to be enlightened, or unless you're reading my material or you're coming to my seminars, you're not going to be enlightened. And guys, the biggest thing I'm going to tell all of you tonight, you're already fucking enlightened. You're just remembering your way back to it. And some people's remembrances are going to take a little bit more time than others. There's nothing wrong with that, man. Like, not everybody can do what I did and paddle out to the middle of the Marianas Trench of esotericism with no life jacket, look over the edge, drop my oar in the boat, and just cannonball into the Marianas Trench. Not everybody is going to be okay with that, and that's completely fine. You know what I mean? And that's the thing about this online spiritual community that aggravates me. And I've even kind of caught shit for it too. It's not that I am not perfect. For number one, I am not. Okay. Like I have my shit that I go through. My thing is this is there is already so much negativity being spout at everybody. Like, you know what I mean? From every single fucking direction. Everything viral is fucking negative right now. Every kind of news story we see is negative. So what I try to do is I try to be a source of positivity. Because eventually, at least in my eyes, this collective is going to reach its tipping point of this perceived negativity at some point. There's going to be something that occurs. I still think we're going to see some interesting things come up. I don't know what they could be. I do think by the next term or the next election that a lot of Americans are going to really get an idea that this system is duping the hell out of them. You know what I mean? They are being duped pretty much from every level. I do predict we might have more anarchists running around by 2028. Don't get me wrong. But that's the thing that just grinds my gears about them. And guys, like you are already everything. Just remember your way back to it. You don't need a guru. You don't need a priest. You don't need a medium of any kind. You know what I mean? And that's the power grab there. But nonetheless, what you talked about with your boss, how you're saying that if you get ahead of people and, you don't look back and shout at them to hurry up, you help them. And that is the mentality, dude. You spelled it out like, all the way. That's the mentality we need to be taking. Of course, the biggest thing we have to realize too, I've talked about it a couple times before. When I first woke up, I was the fucking Paul Revere. I wanted to wake everyone up. I was literally in a metaphorical sense, getting out on my roof with a fucking megaphone. Did you know there's fluoride in your water? Did you know that our banking system is fiat currency? Did you know the food is poisoned? Like this is pretty much like, the metaphorical sense of what I was doing when I first woke up. And, but then you realize, man, in this experience we're having, not everybody's meant to wake up. It is what it is. There are going to be, dude, even after everything came out about COVID, there's people who still defend Fauci, who still defend everything that is going on. And it's like, so at that point, like you have to just, find that peace within yourself and understand that I know you're getting the visceral sensation when I said that, but it's one of the biggest understanding we can have, not just even in the conscious collective, the liberty, the truther community, even in the spiritual collective as well. The biggest realization we can have is, we're not going to be able to save everybody. We're not. And we're not going to be able to wake everybody up, but the people who show the potential, who show the promise, who show that they want to take this initiative and they want to better themselves, step into a new way of being, step into a new way of life, because that's what this is. This isn't just dressing yourself up as anarchist or dressing yourself up as spiritual and bringing all of your shitty things about you and shitty things about the past way of being into this new way of being. It doesn't work that way. It does not, and that is the equivalent of dividing by zero, at least in my eyes. Like it pretty much is. So and that's just kind of the biggest message I could send. No, of course, man. And this is why we're having this conversation, because we can see that there are a lot of people. P.S. Thank you for being here tonight, man. I've never seen you in the chat before. Thanks for being here. Dwell in possible. Do you know who he is?
That might be Paulette. I think that might be Paulette.
Okay, because she showed you some love in this comment right here. Stewardship of community development is truly not happening as much as it should be. We all can rise above pettiness and get her done. 100%, Paulette. Thank you for that. And dwell in possibilities, and you'll have more motivation to engage in process, more so than just hoping for the best outcome. You create your own reality with every thought and action. Paulette is on the vibe. She understands it. Hell yes. So So, but no, and that's what I'm going to say, man. Like, but this is what we're doing. This is turning around. This is helping the people that, are truly, their hearts, their minds, their souls are in it. And, those are the people that we want to work with at this point in time.
I agree with everything. Obviously, we agree on most things, but what you depicted is like the ironic ego, sort of the ironic egoism that I think puts a lot of people off from pursuing spirituality, because there is
100%.
just this weird sort of like, I don't want to throw too much shade, but I'm trying to think of the example of that person that's just all like love and light and everything is blah, blah. I don't know. Anyways, I'll move off of that. One thing I'm guilty of that I want to just apologize to the world for. I've called so many people brainwashed, and I've come to the realization that's kind of like victim blaming. And so I feel bad for that. I just wanted to throw that apology out into the world.
Real quick, if you don't mind, Andrew, let me bring this up because this kind of ties into what we were talking about. I'm going to share it on the screen real quick because like I said, this is what turns people off spirituality. I posted this the other day, and this is exactly what we're fucking dealing with at this point in time. It is like this is the number one thing, and I said let's nip this in the bud, because I'm about done with it myself. But no, 100%. This is what turns a lot of people off from pursuing spirituality.
I think that's just fake spirituality, sort of materialistic, and it's part of the Matrix distraction. But I wanted to bring up one more sort of point on this coalition building, and it's actually connected to the need for solutions, because I believe we kind of need a bit of momentum. We need groups to come together to make change. There are 3 stages to team building and completing a mission: forming, norming, and storming. So we're in the forming stage, where we're bringing together people from all over the globe to come together to accomplish this objective. And to enact any solutions we think of, we need to have the coalition built. So we're still in the forming stage, which is why it is so very important. A little side note: like, comment, share, subscribe. YouTube is absolutely shadow banning channels like mine, channels like Steven's, channels that are speaking real truth. So it is important. It's guerrilla warfare. Everything is going to be from person to person. And so think of find a video that particularly spoke to you or made you think of someone in your life, particularly a young man who's struggling, finding meaning and purpose in this world. This could be a call to action, because there are so many of them. And then, on the other end of that, there are so many women who are just looking for their actualized awakened man to, build this beautiful life with. There's this beautiful life on the other side of this. So once we get out of the forming stage, we're going to hit the norming stage, the normalizing of sort of expectations, behaviors, contributions, etc. That is the stage I believe we will be the most vulnerable to division. So building the coalition is going to be easy. Once it's built, that's when the social engineers, especially once it's got a little bit of mainstream, I don't think we'll go super mainstream, but we'll go a little mainstream, and I'm happy. That's all we need. Once it's built, the social engineers are going to attack us even harder. And also the spiritual attacks you and I have talked about. You got to up your spiritual protection game, people, because once we hit that storming stage, it's going to be like the Battle of Normandy. There's going to be so many of us just throwing our spiritual bodies into this battle. Fuck you, parasites. And how you contribute is going to look different for everybody. Not like that's the beauty of diversity. I use a lot of progressive language like inclusivity and diversity. I hate the progressives, but it's true. Like, we need a diverse spiritual military unit. You all have something to contribute. I do have some notes on like solutions, but I don't know if you have anything you want to add to that or
So
a
I
different
actually,
direction.
I no, I'm going to build off of what you said, man, 100%, because what you just said about it being guerrilla warfare. It's going to be from person to person. Dude, I've been experiencing that to the highest degree. So are you. I joke that I'm in like the permanent shadow ban vault on YouTube. Like they've just, as soon as they watched a couple episodes, they were like, nope, throw them in there, leave them there, just leave them there. And but no, so I have a saying, man, and this is kind of the mentality that I think a lot of people need to shift, because, and let me just put you back in the old days, right? And I hate saying it like this, but back in the days when I was, freshly awakened and I was doing all this research, you want to know who I put stock and faith in? The people who were being silenced, the people who were being shadow banned, the people that they did not want you to listen to, the people that they did not want you to see. And if we look at a lot of the conspiracy community at this point in time, they're listening to people like Alex Jones. They're listening to these people who are not being silenced, not being shadow banned. They have mainstream highlight. Okay. It's almost like I've seen an inversion almost in the truther community, because, dude, we were trying to get our hands back then on redacted documents. We were trying to listen to people who, they almost threatened to take off the face of the earth, because we knew that these people had valuable information. You know what I mean? That these individuals, they're being so put down, they're being ridiculed by the mainstream. They're being silenced. They must know something. They must have something, because that's one of the trends, that not a lot of people have picked up on just yet. If they intensely ridicule something in the public eye, that means there's absolutely something to it. And that is why they are going through the great lengths to ridicule either this individual, this movement, these things like that. So I have a saying, is if you want to know the truth, put stock and faith and listen to those who are shadow banned and silenced. If you want half truths or lies, listen to those who have a mainstream platform. And that is really kind of sums up what's going on at this point in time. What you were talking about, the formation and then the normalization, things like that. Yes, I think what we're going to encounter in this, we are in this formation stage. And it's funny because, if we even do go a little mainstream, they are going to try to paint the fucking nation red with us, dude. They are going to, but this brings me to my next point. And, kind of what you were saying too, people getting out there and doing something. We have to refine ourselves just a little bit. And this is going to be one of my talks of the Liberty on the Rocks, because when you look at anarchists, for fuck's sake, dude, the Libertarian Party is being compared to a floating dumpster fire at this point in time. Like, that is the meme for the Libertarian Party. A literally a dumpster that is on fire, that is floating in a flood. So, same thing with a lot of anarchists too, man. And, the biggest thing we're going to have to do to ourselves in this formation is we're going to have to refine ourselves, man. And I know a lot of people are, might have differing opinions about what I'm about to say, but when we are in the eye of the public, when we are out doing this formation, when we are out either, running for city council, or we are out, going to do a public speaking, the way we present ourselves is going to be of the utmost importance. They already look for any reason to ridicule us. They already think we're a bunch of degenerates. Now, imagine how the game would change if we showed up fresh, presenting ourselves in a good manner, freaking cleaned up, educated, well-spoken. Okay, they're going to have a very hard time ridiculing us. They're going to have a really hard time trying to paint the town red with our name, because we are literally taking out their I'm trying to think of the word for it. I can't think of it off the top of my head, but their go-to, their Pavlov's dog. That's exactly what I was looking for, because they see a lot of us, man. And that's why, guys, that's why when I get, dude, I'm never fucked up on a podcast, man. I know so many podcasters who are cool with getting on stoned off their asses, or, getting on drunk off their asses, and I know some people can handle themselves that way. That's fine. But at the same time, man, like, look at the message you're relaying. Yep. Look at the message you're relaying. Look at your audience and things like that. Like right now, it's like a do or die with this, man, because like, in the mainstream eye, you look at people like us, they're like, oh, what a bunch of degenerates, what a bunch of losers, nobodies, things like that. Well, imagine if these losers and these nobodies were some of the most well-presented, well-educated, well-spoken individuals that you've ever laid your eyes on. They're going to have a real hard time being like, these guys are a bunch of degenerates. Look at them. They're freaking gardening out in their backyard and they're showing people how to grow their own food. These fucking degenerates. And it's like, so I'm with you, man. I think, for a lack of better words, we're in this formation. We're getting to the point where we're going to be building this. I think right now, I mean, as much as some people don't want to hear it, and I'm not saying when we're all hanging around ourselves, our community, we can't let loose and have a little bit of fun. I love to let loose and have a little bit of fun. You know what I mean? But when we're out doing our business, we have to be about business. You know what I mean? And I know I'm going to catch flack for saying that, but it is what it fucking is. Like, you know what I mean? Like, and, I look at a lot, I mean, I'm not going to name names, but there's an anarchist female I know that likes to take provocative pictures of herself to try and promote anarchism and things like that. And I'm like, this is not, like, don't get me wrong, I'm a man. I appreciate the woman figure. I'm not going to fucking lie to you about that. But at the same time, it's like, dude, like we're trying to gain headway here. We're trying to get more people to look at the world through the way that we're seeing it. And like, flashing pictures of your tits might not be, the best way to kind of portray that, and that's just, I know some guys are going to be like, what the fuck, bro? We want to see the tits. But at the same time, it's like, yeah, you get what I'm saying.
No, I do. I just want to interject because, I said I wasn't going to bring philosophy into this, but I'm going to. If you flash your tits to raise awareness for something, the man's brain is not going to move past your tits.
100%.
So man, it's counterproductive, and you're just not, like you said, you're not displaying decorum, which I think I agree with 98%, because fuck you, I'm not going to shave my beard or cut my hair. No. You goddamn square.
You keep the beards. No. You keep the beards, man. Yeah, definitely. I'm just talking about, when I listen to a lot of, when I've listened to a lot of libertarians and anarchists talk and things like that. And, it's full of cursing. I know I've cursed a little bit tonight too, don't get me wrong, but like, we have to refine ourselves in the eyes of the greater collective. And that is going, because you gotta understand, like, this is even based off the psychology of the greater collective and how they work. Because, like, don't get me wrong, like, let's say, you have two people. You have a dude who's well-presented, well-spoken, well-educated. He could be feeding you snake oil. Don't get me wrong. Could be feeding you snake oil, but because of his presentation, people are going to listen to him. And then you have the other guy who might just have a t-shirt and blue jeans on, might have a rip in them or whatever it is. He might be hella smart, know way more than the dude, might be way more intelligent, way more educated, way more well-spoken than the dude who is in a better presentation. But because the public, it's like you eat with your eyes before you eat with your mouth. And that's the best way to describe it. And that's going to be a big point at my talk, because, I see a lot of these people, in the anarchist, and yep, Diana said we're a visual species. Exactly. So, I mean, that's my whole point. I know I'm not telling you to shave your beard. I'm not shaving my goatee either. Hell no, man. But like, when we go, like, be well-spoken, be well-educated, have a clean and clear presentation, because they're going to look at with us with their eyes before they even listen to the words that are coming out of our mouth.
No, I agree. We need to move away from the dirty hippie stereotype. I haven't done it in forever when I say this, but like I love LSD. It's phenomenal. Oh my gosh.
I
And
agree.
I think there's a time and a place for it, and you should do so, in a controlled setting, ideally. I know
Absolutely.
people who just go downtown, and it's like that's unsafe. Like
That's
do
not a
it
good idea.
safely. But shoot, I just had a thought. Oh, I have this dream. There's this YouTube channel, Dr. Michael Sugru. Unfortunately, he passed away last year, but I have this dream where I get a hold of one of his jackets because he was a college professor. He gave the absolute most brilliant lectures on philosophy, and they're on YouTube. So I recommend you check him out. But he always had just like the coolest '80s style, professor jacket, and it's like, man, I want one of those so bad. If I could get one of his, that would be awesome, just for the lore. But let's see. That I think that's all I have for sort of that segment. Is there another segment you wanted to go to,
Absolutely.
or
Let's dive a little bit further, man. I'm enjoying this conversation. Number one, I agree with you. I myself enjoy LSD. I unfortunately I have not partaken in it since back in 2023, where I had the wonderful idea on Memorial Day to do a 600 microgram dose. I was at the 4 hours into the experience. I was in my basement under the blanket with all the lights turned off, and I was going, it's not the acid's fault, Steve. It's your fault. You decided to fucking. It was like, you decided to do 600 micrograms, bro. Like, freaking. I know people who take even more than that. But, dude, even after 600, I was like, whoa, dude, I don't think I'm going to be heroicing on LSD anytime soon after that. That was a lot. But no, I 100% agree with you, man. I do think, I do think entheogens and psychedelics are still going to play. I'm actually going to be having a show with the Spirit Molecule and God Molecule Face group book group up in April with Alina Robinson, Neil and Darius. They're both doing a lot of work in psychedelic studies. I do think that all three of them are doing a lot of work with psychedelic studies. But I do think that is going to be kind of a big thing for us. I do think that psychedelics, the more commonplace that they become, in our society and the more commonly accepted that they become, I do think that's going to ignite the divine spark a little bit further in our collective. But I'm with you, man. The dirty hippie look, like, it's, when we're in our own time, man, like, hanging out, like, maybe camping or, going to a show or something or things like that. Like, yeah, that's one thing, man. But yeah, when we step into the public, we got to do a 180, and the lab coat, I think we're going to get some BG cast lab coats. I like that idea. I am kind of, I am, I am definitely sold on that. And, but no, I'm with you, man. It's going to be, and this is going to kind of help us, win that spiritual battle in this, dude, because, like, let's say we get past that formation stage and we're in the normalization stage, right? The parasite class is going to be like sitting there. If we operate this way, they're going to be like, how the fuck can we smear them? There's no way at this point in time we can physically smear them. They're freaking growing gardens. They're building communities. Like, they're educated. They're well spoken. They present themselves well. It's going to be real hard at that point. And then, what we might have to do is open up our own internet server so they don't put anything funky on our computers, because we know the things they resort to when they can't smear you. They start going down many different roads on that. But nonetheless, man, I agree. I think it's time we just refine our image, we prop ourselves up. The one thing I want to talk to you about extra, because you and I have talked. Let's talk about a little bit of the nonsense that's going on right now. On the world stage, when it comes to a lot of these different protests and a lot of the things going on. Um, I know, just like you and I both, we were describing this. When we see some of this stuff, we get this internal, visceral sensation. You get a look when it happens. I'm just kind of like, I like squint my eyes and I like gotta. I'm like, and I gotta walk, man. But like, you were talking about, progressives and things like that, and I let's kind of hammer down on that for a second. I mean, right now, I'm not gonna lie, I do think the right is definitely adopted a cult like mentality at this point in time. But cater to, kind of going off of what you said on Facebook earlier about it, that the left the left is very cult like, is become insanely cult like in their mentality too. So like, I'm kind of curious to see I want to hear some of these lapses in logic that you've picked out. I know you're very good at this, so I'm curious if there's anything as of late that is like crossed your. He's flipping the page. He's like, I've got.
Shoot, I didn't make notes for that, but let me see
okay.
if
We
I
can
can
freeball that.
Yeah, let me freeball it a little bit. I have said it multiple times that I abhor the progressive movement, and I've told you in private chats. I actually think the progressive movement will be our biggest barrier to building the coalition, and then that will be followed closely by the Christian group and Christian movement. I talked to Clark last night. He's kind of moving in the Christian group
I heard that.
area, which is cool because, we have roots with him, and he's open-minded, and he's also, trying to open their minds, but he's also trying to be a little bit more, conventional Christian, we'll say. But the progressives, I talked about earlier, philosophy, they are very selective in how they apply logic, and I don't want to, okay. Damn, let me see. Well, there's just so many people who will call these people out. And then also you can say Marxists, you can say communists, you can say socialists. Those are all the wrong words. I think right now, the right word we should be using when calling this out is actually collectivist, because that kind of encompasses all of them. Because there's all these different people who kind of are left leaning, and then they have their own niche sort of identifier to be like cool and trendy. Oh, I'm a democratic socialist, right? But essentially their entire ideology relies on a government initiating the use of force against the citizens. It is all about parasiting resources from the productive class, keeping most of it for themselves and their friends, and then funneling just, a little bit here and there to make it look like they're actually doing something. And I know that sounds egregious and that sounds implausible. However, within the last few weeks, we have been having the USAID. I don't want to know if they're leaks because everything's transparent, but if you don't know what's been going on, it is being, let me just preface this. I don't like Elon Musk. I don't like, Donald Trump is kind of funny, and I acknowledge that, but
China.
I don't. Yeah. Right. But I do believe what Elon is uncovering is all of this fraud, this money laundering, this embezzlement, this government fraud, this government waste is entirely real, or mostly real. We'll say mostly real because he's going to exaggerate, but that is something that we have been screaming about in the anarchist community for decades, literally decades, that these government programs are immoral and inefficient. And we're all just experiencing a gradual, but over the last few years, a quick decline in the standard of living as a result from the debasement of our currency, because they've printed so much money. And now there's some drama about the gold in Fort Knox. I don't know much about that, but that's new. And so they've hyperinflated the cost of everything. It's insane. Like what $1, 100 years ago would buy you versus today. And when I talk about the parasite class and how they have extracted so much wealth, and that's all that they do, progressive ideology is just hearts and rainbows kind of on the exterior with soul and resource sucking greed on the inside. And I get the appeal to want to take care of people in our world. But at the core, if you think stealing from one person and giving to another is moral, then you are wrong. And you're also lazy because you just want someone else to do your dirty work to create this world you want to live in. And then I won't even go off on a tangent, but I'll just bring this up real quick. My body, my choice, unless it's an experimental drug,
100%.
right? And so, can I just say one more thing? This is a controversial thing. I want to say this. I'm not a Christian, but I like Jesus. I think there is a philosophy of Jesus that is beautiful.
Jesus is awesome, man.
He's the fucking man.
He is the fucking man.
I'm anti-abortion, but I'm not a Christian. But, and this is, I piss everybody off with this because I don't think there should be a state. I'm not going to interfere in other people getting abortions. And so I think it's wrong, but I also am not going to get in the way. And to me, that's a huge compromise.
Well, that's true freedom, bro. Like you're acknowledging this is the thing. Like a lot of people nowadays, they're like, we want freedom, but we don't want you to be able to do that. And it's like, no, that's not what true freedom is. And that's where it bears some explanation, because true freedom is, I believe, Louis C.K. I didn't know. Diana, damn. All right. Louis C.K. says, do it if you want, but it is killing a baby. I 100% agree with that. But the thing about it is this, man. It's just kind of like what we were going off on. True freedom is, I believe people, grown adults, we'll leave it at that, grown adults in the society should have the freedom, as long as they're not taking from anybody or hurting anybody. You know what I mean? And of course, like, when we get into abortion, that starts to become a gray area. Don't get me wrong. Like, but I take the same stance as you. I don't think it's a good thing to do. I don't think it's right. However, I am not going to stand in the way of your freedom. You know what I mean? Same thing. Like, dude, I might not agree with somebody's rhetoric at all. I might think they're completely off base and they're missing the point. But am I going to tell him he doesn't have the right to say that? Absolutely not. He has the right to speak his fucking mind, and he has the right to have that freedom. So that's what true freedom. That's why I think that even the definition of freedom has become diluted. It has, because like people want freedom when it comes to anything they want. But if somebody who doesn't agree with them or their mentality wants something different and they want to force them to not be able to do that, that's not freedom. That's not. It's like, that's why I went on Common Ground. I popped it off with that question. I said, do you believe people should be forced to do things that they don't want to do? And I asked the both of them that. And what was really cool is they both agree. They're like, no, we don't think people should be forced to do things. And that's the mentality we need to take when it comes to freedom. Okay. Like my philosophy has always been for years, bro. Like, I don't care if you want to dress up as a fucking pink elephant and go to Pink Elephant Island and dance around with all your pink elephant furry friends. As long as you're not taking or hurting from anybody, I don't care what you do. And like, that should really be a mentality, when we're kind of approaching the topic of freedom, man, because I think that's just what's happened to it. Just like everything, the definitions of everything. I mean, you even look at the definition of anarchist and anarchism. You look at the mainstream definition of that. People think it is like a lawless freaking wasteland where everybody's raping and pillaging each other and stealing and, hurting each other and things like that. But that is what the social engineers want you to think. And that's where we kind of even dive into the philosophical question. Are humans inherently good or are they inherently bad? And, at least on my point, I take that as humans are inherently good, but they are ignorant. And what does ignorant breed? Hate, fear, all of these above things. And I know there's a lot of people, you want to take the Gnostic approach, humans are evil or something like that. But I feel that's, that's the social engineers trying to program people into thinking that any other system aside from the bipartisan one that we're currently undergoing at this point in time, is going to be a hell fest of some kind, and that is that programming. So I'm with you, dude. What you're explaining, Andrew, is true freedom. All right, you're acknowledging that you might not agree with this, you might not agree with this decision, but you respect the person's freedom to make the decision. You are not stopping them from making the decision. You are not putting any kind of law or any kind of mandate over them. And the whole my body, my choice thing, I am going to let out on that a little bit too. And that's why when, and I even entertain the common narrative on this too. And like I was talking about this too, when they overturned Roe versus Wade and they're letting the states handle it, everybody was up in arms. And my mentality was this. If you are a woman who believes in my body, my choice in principle, meaning with principle, meaning that applies to every single aspect of existence, what you put in your body, what you take, whether or not you want to alter your consciousness or not, and have the right to alter your consciousness, depending if that's the choice that you want to make. The right to sovereignty, bodily autonomy, like all of this stuff. If you are a woman who believes in my body, my choice and principle, I'm sorry for what happened to you today. That was my mentality on that. But then I would rebut with that. If you are a woman who screams my body, my choice, but you policed and promoted the vaccine mandates, the mask mandates, all of that, I don't feel bad for you at all. This is kind of your karma when we're talking about this. So like, no, I'm 100% with you, man. What you're talking about is true freedom. And I think the real definition of freedom and the real meaning of freedom needs to be brought to light again.
I completely agree. And I said I wasn't going to go off on my body, my choice, but you inspired me to actually bring a little bit of philosophy into it. But bodily autonomy is the first property right you have. You have ownership and agency over your body. Then, by extension, you have ownership and agency over the things your body can create. If you mix your labor with material reality, and I believe, I'm not a Christian, I don't want to get into like my cosmological worldview, but Earth is essentially a gift for us to experience and participate in. To best optimize that gift and that experience, bodily autonomy needs to be first, and then your ability to transform or transmute your reality around you needs to also be protected, because if your labor can be stolen, you're a slave.
100%, man. And that's the thing too. And and it was crazy, man, because I was heavily into the spiritual community at that time. Like I was, going to spiritual meetups, like trying to get to know people, man. That whole instance caused this. And I've talked about it on the show a couple of times. I won't go into it too much right now, but that whole COVID caused a wedge in the spiritual community, dude, a freaking wedge, because you have people like you and I who we believe bodily autonomy and freedom are very spiritual things. Okay. Like very, very spiritual things. These are non-negotiable things in my eyes. Like, I am not negotiating my freedom or my bodily autonomy. I don't care what kind of material goods or metaphysical goods that you're going to try to offer me at that point. I'm not doing it. And then we had the other group of people that seemed to kind of kowtow to the other side. It was all about like the emotion. They're like, you need to make people feel safe. And I'm like, don't get me wrong, I'll stand 6 feet away from you. I have no problem doing that. Like, if that's what you want, but I'm not putting on a fucking mask. I'm not getting the vaccine. I'm not doing it. But that's the thing too, is we can go through the psychological studies. And I've brought this up. If you guys ever want to look, I brought it up back way in season 1 when I did the episode on psychology. When you're dealing with people who are brainwashed, manipulated, or have some kind of mental illness, and you kind of solidify that brainwashing, that mental illness in them, you are going to cause them to kind of enter something called a psychosis at that point, because instead of being a voice of reason, you're like, oh no, I'll do all of this for you. Oh no, I'll put the mask on. Oh no, I'll walk on eggshells around you. Oh no, you're validating the irrational fears at that point in time, especially as a loved one. You're validating those. And what you're doing is you're putting people into almost what I would call psychosis. And I've even seen it firsthand. Back when I was at my last company, this was towards the tail, this was at the end, this was 2023, mid 2023. I had to go to a freaking service call, and this dude called my office 3 times to make sure I was bringing an N95 mask. Right. And I remember the third time I asked my office, I was like, do I have to take this call? Can we give it to someone else, please? Like, and they were like, look, if he gets the job, we'll have someone else do it. Just go to the estimate. I was like, all right, dude, mind you, this is when even the government and Fauci said the coast is clear, everybody. This man stood 10 feet away from me the whole fucking time. Okay. This man, even in his household, like he would open the door, let it open. He would walk 10 feet into his living room. I would come in. He would make me walk into his kitchen, and then he would shut the door. This is the result of catering to the irrational and illogical fears. I mean, you even look at fucking Howard Stern, man. You remember when we were growing up? Howard Stern used to be a badass. We used to want to listen to him, like, because he was always had the risque shit, and he would always, have something weird. He was talking about some conspiracy or something wild. Now this dude is so afraid to even leave his home. Like this man has shut himself in wherever he is. And even when they said the coast was clear, the man was afraid to even leave his home. So it's like, this is what happens. So like, that's where I debated that side of the spiritual community. I'm like, you're going to cater to these irrational fears in these people, and you're going to make them worse. Do you understand? And look at what happened. Case in point.
That's a perfect segue into, I have some notes on some solutions, but it made me think of my own experience in COVID. And I'm a licensed massage therapist. I have what I believe like an intuitive, like almost hands-on healing, deep energy ability. I didn't even fully knew I had it until I was in my practice, and I'm like, whoa, I've got something here. However, during COVID, I was in a Facebook group. It was Washington State Licensed Massage Therapists. It was like, I think 2022 maybe. And I had posted in the group, hey, I'm in this area and I'm looking for other practitioners who just want to do some self-care exchanges. I have a good deep touch, a good deep intuitive touch. And then at the very bottom, I space, little asterisk, I am not vaccinated and do not plan to get vaccinated, just so you all are aware. And I was kicked out of the group. They just kicked me out of the group.
What the hell, dude?
Because a majority of the massage therapists who you would think are like healers and whatnot just fell lockstep in line with the narrative. And anyone who did not, Washington State, I fucking hate it. I'm sorry, excuse my language. I hate it. Like, it's so beautiful here, but I need to get out because I need to find a community of people. Kind of in the solutions, something that I'm doing personally, on a bigger picture, I would encourage your audience to look for opportunities to disobey the state and subvert the government at all times. Just always be trying to do that, because it's not just that we're subverting them and that's cool and it's edgy, but you're building a reservoir of courage for when a bigger battle looms ahead, because we know there are more battles ahead. And when the time to really stand up comes, you want to just already kind of have that resource to draw from. Me personally, in 2023, I let my massage license lapse because I wasn't practicing COVID and just the bullshit of the community. I was so angry at them. So I let my license lapse, and then all of a sudden in the mail, I got a notice, hey, if you want to renew, you have to pay $260. Oh, and then also you need to submit proof of your continuing education, because there's a mandatory, you have to do X number of credits, and some of them have to be in these areas. and that's just money and time. So when I say America is not a capitalist country, that's a perfect example. Is that I'm gonna have to pay $1,000 and spend, countless hours just to keep my license that I already got. So I decided, fuck it. I'm not going to renew my license. I'm not going to be licensed anymore. I'm just gonna be a hands-on healer and I don't even practice right now yet still, but I know in the future I'll begin to give back in that way. Man, the last few years messed me up. I'm being honest. I know they've messed a lot of us up, but I'm coming out of it. And as I come out of it, I'm like, fuck the government. I'm just going to do a cash business. And I would encourage everyone to begin to divest as much as you can from current systems and build, like you said, internet service provider parallel institutions that are insulated from the bigger grid of the technocratic overlords. Because like I said, I don't like Elon Musk. I don't want his version of Neuralink. In the big picture, when I think thousands of years in humanity's future, yeah, it's kind of inevitable, but let's be conscious. That's why I love the conscious community, because they get it. Let's be conscious about how we approach these things. 100%. So fuck you, Elon, but also fuck the left. I hate you all, but I love you all at the same time.
Well, dude, I'm 100% with you, man, because was that amen or Aren, Kyle? That I don't know, but no, dude, I am all about subverting the government and flipping the money changers tables. Yes, that I think is a good practice. I think we all need to be doing that, and it's and the number one thing too is a lot of people they get nervous about that, but at the same time, it's like doing something just like you said, doing a cash only business. Keeping the gut, but that's the thing too. And that's why I honestly, I'll bring it back one more time. That's why I think laissez-faire capitalism is a good way to do things. I would 100% say, because that way, we keep the government out of things like that. They don't get the ability to kind of intrude on businesses and things like that. Hold on. We got Paulette. One last thing. We got mitochondrial intelligence is passed down by matriarch family. A reason I survived COVID is probably because my ancestors survived the Spanish flu. I'm an LMT and no vax here either. No tax without rep. Awesome, Paulette. Thank you. I appreciate you being here tonight. Yeah. But no, it is, man. It's wild that you went through that too in Washington, because you look at a lot. I couldn't believe how many holistic health practitioners just kind of like bought on in the yoga community too, dude. Like before I even started doing Kundalini yoga and Kriya yoga, I was doing, a lot of Ashtanga and Vinyasa and things like that. But I remember like when COVID started hitting, man, like all of these people, all of these yogis who were supposed to be sovereign, who were supposed to be spiritual, all of that started. Dude, even Sadhguru, man. Like I used to, back in my early days, I used to love Sadhguru, man. The man was always on point until he said, you need to follow the rules of your government during this whole thing. I was like, oh, dude, it broke my fucking heart. I was like, no, not you, Sadhguru. But it was like, go ahead, what were you saying?
Arnold and his "Screw your freedom."
I know.
Fuck, that was, man, Pumping Iron was like just an Arnold, man. When he said that, I was like, yeah, screw your freedom. What a fucking Nazi.
Dude, you saw Brian Shaw. So like Brian Shaw's out here in Colorado. He's the world's strongest man. He took his photo down from his gym. He used to train with a photo of Arnold.
Good.
Up on the 100% good, man. And now you see how he's trying to backtrack. Now he's like, oh, I'm sorry. I did not mean to say screw your freedoms. I was drunk. Excuse me. It's like, but it is, man. And it's like, you look at, I saw the whole holistic healthcare crowd go down with it, but and that's why, like, I'm trying to, and of course we're both trying to bring back like the true meaning of this, man. Like, we're trying to bring back what true spirituality is. I'm not hating on, tarot cards, crystals, the sage. Tools are tools. They're great, man. But the real spirituality to me is the healing. the healing journey, the self-actualization, like you talked about, the becoming, transmuting, being that internal alchemist, using, I call them, because we all have these energetic gears that are spinning with us. If you've done LSD, you've probably witnessed these. Trust me, we have these energetic gears that spin within us, and these gears are transmuting within us at all times. We're always doing transmutation at all times. And what true spirituality is to me is that mastery of that transmutation process. You're taking all of this darkness of this world that you experience, all of the darkness that's happened to you, and you're transmuting it into light for your highest purpose and to heal yourself, to bring you closer. And like I said at the beginning of the show, we are already our higher selves. There's no becoming. We're already there. It's just remembering. It's just it's just that remembrance. We have to keep remembering our way back to that. You know what I mean? And that's where that healing comes in, that transmutation comes in, and all of that. That's part of that remembrance process, because as we let go of the weight that we hold, whether we bear the weight of the world or whether we bear the weight of our past transgressions or the things that happen to us, when we let go of that weight, this mucky frequency dissipates and we have this clarity that starts to kind of take hold. And to me, that is the true spiritual evolution. It's not being a starseed influencer. It's not fucking being somebody who wants to, don't get me wrong, I get it. I have respect for some of these people who kind of go off into the different trajectories, of certain things. But to me, the most important thing is that healing journey. That is the true spiritual evolution, and that self-actualization, that you are a subjective focal point of this divine consciousness. You are a divine spark, and it's the inner standing of that. Everything else to me is an accessory. Like I said, not hating on it. I mean, dude, I mess with tarot cards every now and then. I mean, I have some crystals hanging around the house. Like, I cleanse my home here and there. Not hating on it, but that's not the precedence, and that's basically kind of what I'm getting at. So.
I could not say it any different or any better, because that's my goal. And, since you've come into my life, you've been a great role model for me in a lot of ways. I honestly feel like I've improved so much as a person over the last few years, because I've had guidance from people like you and Dr. Autumn. And I just want to tell you, you're on the right path. You're on, you're doing your work. Your spirit guides are proud of you, and I'm honored to just be on this journey with you and to help however I can.
Dude, I'm gonna tell you what, bro. In the most heterosexual way, I got love for you, bro, and you know that, man. And freaking thank you. And I'm glad, dude. It makes me. That's what this is about for me. And I'm dead serious when I say that. That's what this is about for me. Like we said on this last time we talked, I 100%, I kind of am okay with being nobody. At least in the mainstream eye, but like you said, being that community hero, or being that community, being known in your community. That's what's most important to me. And and that in and of itself, man. What you just said, that to know that I've helped you, I've broken you out of a sticking point, and I've helped you, man, find that deep meaning within yourself, bro. That means the world to me. And thank you for that. Dead serious, bro. Dead serious, man. Well, dude, I could keep going, but I got to go grab some dinner and stuff and, hang out with the family. But again, man, we're definitely doing this again, very, very soon. Trust me on that. But of course, I always do you well, man. I've got your YouTube channel and I've got your Instagram page at the bottom of both the Rumble and the YouTube descriptions. But if there's anything else you are working on at this point in time, or if you have anywhere else people can come check you out, why don't you let all of the listeners and viewers know now?
Yeah, I'll give you a link if you want to throw it in, where people could buy their own No Division shirt. It's a statement piece. People are going to comment on it, but I think that's good, because it allows us to engage people that otherwise we wouldn't. If we, like a stranger, you're just walking past, there's no other reason that you could talk to this person, but maybe you are meant to talk to them. Maybe they're part of the journey. And so I think we have to use the system in a way to dismantle the system. So like, you know, campaigning the American Capitalist Party, just basic capitalism, basic commercialism. I know you are going to be doing some merch stuff, so it would be cool to sell some of these shirts. But we also, you know, we need to, like I already said this, you already said this, but I'm going to say it again: like, comment, share, subscribe. This is just me predicting, but I think you are going to be a leader in this. And so I think you had even commented it'd be cool to go a little mainstream. We need to just raise awareness to you and to this, and I'm part of it. I'll help, but I think you're going to be like a leader, and I'm going to help, and other people are going to help. And so I would encourage everyone to just like spread this, because I believe in Steven, and I know if you're watching this, you do too. And that's all I got.
I'm going to tell you what, man. You know, it's that is the best way you can support this, guys, and you can support all of this. You know, it's funny because you're not the first person who said that to me. There's other people who have said that to me, and it's like my inner anarchist is like, oh, when he hears that, he's like, but here's the thing, like, if it came down to it, I would be willing to do it for a little bit. 100%, but you would have a seat next to me, dude. 300% on that. Like, I would want to do it so I could help get people started. You know, I would do it but I want people to learn how to lead themselves. So like, that's kind of the best thing I would say is that if it does happen, it's going to be done by example. It's not going to be done in a way that it's being done now. And Diana, actually, I'm sure she's still watching. Kyle, come on, man. I see your comments. We're just in the middle of a conversation. All right. I see your comments, man. I've put them up here. But as I was going to say, Diana is even kind of said in ways that leadership is going to change, like the way it's done. You know, the whole mentality behind it too. Thank you. I appreciate it, because my human design, I'm a manifester. But you know, nonetheless, man, dude, thank you for the kind words, and guys, thank you so much for your support. I will be back next week, guys. Raphael Terriel will be joining me again. If you guys remember Raphael from season 2, we kind of broke down into the micronova theory, some of his predictions for what's kind of occurring in these future years. Well, he has some interesting research he has done. He has beefed up his theory quite a bit. And I'm really looking forward to sitting down and chatting with him next week. So, guys, next week, Wednesday, 6:30 p.m. Mountain Time, Raphael Terriel will be back. We will be breaking down his new theory of, the spiritual nature of this existence, the etymology between the sun and the soul. And we will be definitely also talking about a potential magnetic excursion, but it is not going to be what everybody thinks it's going to be. So if you are interested in that, guys, join me again. Thank you. Please like, follow, share. I really appreciate all of you who come here. Like I said, I do this myself, man. I'm 100% self-funded. I have no sponsors. The only sponsor I have is the divine itself. And that is good. And that's a bigger wealth to me, man, than anything else. So, guys, I will catch you next week. Andrew, if you can hang out just for a sec after we go off air. Thanks again for joining us for another We Are So Back Wednesday BG Cast Live podcast. And you all have a wonderful and amazing and safe night. Take care.